Boris Nemtsov represented the best of Russia, the very opposite of the people who are in power in Russia today, both on a personal and on a political level. He wanted to see a Russia where there will be the rule of law, where there will be free and democratic elections, where the rights of Russian citizens would be respected and the dignity of Russian citizens would be respected, and a Russia that would behave as a responsible citizen and as a responsible partner on the international stage.
Boris Nemtsov was a hero. He was a hero not only in Russia, he was a hero in the wider international community. He believed in the future of his country. He believed that Russia could in fact have a better future than the path that it was on. And he fought and gave his life up for that fight.
The astonishing thing is that the current authorities in the Kremlin are continuing to fight Boris Nemtsov, even after his death. They're now fighting his name, his legacy, and his memory. Several times a month, always in the middle of the night, the Moscow authorities, with the help of the police, come to the unofficial memorial to Boris Nemtsov on Bolshoi Moskvoretsky Bridge, where he was killed, and where people still continue to this day, 3 years on, to bring flowers and leave his portraits and light candles for him. The Moscow authorities and the Moscow police come in to pillage and destroy that memorial. Russia is a country of symbols, and so the symbols and the memory of someone like Boris Nemtsov, who represented a very different Russia, an open, hopeful, European democratic Russia, are clearly not welcome with the current regime. So for now, while this regime is in power, we are not allowed to honor and to commemorate a Russian statesman in Russia. And so we are very grateful to citizens and to elected representatives of democratic countries, including the US, who are stepping in to do what we for now cannot. Today, on February 27th, on the 3rd anniversary of the assassination of Boris Nemtsov, we are gathering here in Washington, D.C. to officially unveil Boris Nemtsov Plaza in front of the Russian embassy here in Washington. This will be the first official designation and the first official commemoration of Boris Nemtsov anywhere in the world.
The renaming of the street in front of the current Russian embassy in memory of Boris is a way to send a signal to Russians who, like Boris, want a better future for their country.
I know, and I have absolutely no doubt, that whatever the current regime in the Kremlin thinks about this, we know that one day there will be Nemtsov streets and Nemtsov squares in Russia, in Moscow, in Yaroslavl, in Nizhny Novgorod, in St. Petersburg, and other cities in our country. And whatever the current officials in the Russian embassy in Washington think about what has happened, I have absolutely no doubt that the day will come when Russian diplomats working in Washington, D.C. will be proud to have our embassy standing on Boris Nemtsov Plaza.
I hope to see the more liberal democratic forces in the opposition come together. They have been all too splintered over the years. They have also come under tremendous duress from Russian authorities. So the hope is that in memory of Boris, they will come together. They will recognize that their common threat is the current Russian leadership. It's not each other.
Boris Nemtsov always believed that the democratic forces in Russia should work together, because, you know, what unites us, a common struggle against an authoritarian kleptocratic regime, a common struggle for a free, democratic European Russia, is so much more important than the small, petty differences that may exist. And so I think the best way for us in the Russian democratic opposition to honor the memory and to honor the legacy of Boris Nemtsov will be to find ways to work together, to work shoulder to shoulder, to work alongside each other, to bring democratic change in Russia.
What Boris should remind us of is that Russia is not Putin and Putin is not Russia.
When people think and hear all these things about Russia in the media today, about, you know, hacking and invasions and meddling and domestic human rights violations and foreign aggression, I think it's very important that people don't associate and equate Russia as a country with the current regime in the Kremlin, because Russia as a country and as a people is so much better than the group of individuals who is currently in charge of our country, and Boris Nemtsov represented that best that there is about our country and about our political culture.